In this study, we're going to take a look at the Williams guard. It's a trapping guard that you can transition to from closed guard and was popularised by Renzo Gracie black belt Shawn Williams, and also by Neil Melanson, who has a system for it called the shoulder pin, with his own unique modifications, setups and attacks. Using a strong overhook reinforced by your own leg and a frame against the opponent's face, it limits their ability to posture, and from that position you can set up a variety of attacks like the armbar and the other closed guard staples of the triangle choke, as seen demonstrated here by Ryan Hall, and the Omoplata submission or sweep if they defend the initial Omoplata attack. The position is set up from an overhook and does look similar to rubber guard, and it was once even in the 10th Planet system under the name London, but removed due to a counter that we'll discuss later. Although rubber guard requires the flexibility of lifting your ankle to your opponent's shoulder, the Williams guard only requires the ability to bring your knee to your chest, allowing it to be played by more grapplers. Hooking behind your own leg, it creates a trapped arm in your opponent on the near side and a free arm of theirs on the far side. It's important to cut an angle onto your hip so that when you bring your knee up, it's situated behind the opponent's neck or spine. Cutting that angle will also give you space to create the frame which you can push back against the opponent's head as they try to drive into you to square you up. Getting the hand on the mat can be set up if the opponent attempts to body lock, which we see Neil Melanson show here, and one difference in his system is that he advocates for using the frame to push down on the opponent's collarbone, preventing them stacking in. But without the frame, the hand can also be used to grip the shoulder, leaving a free hand to wrist fight and set up attacks, or grip the collar if you're in the gi. In MMA, that free hand can be used to set up some short strikes, as we see Marcin Held use it here to set up the Omoplata before transitioning into the opponent's legs and making them flee. Although the strikes won't be too powerful, the Williams guard does prevent the opponent from throwing their own strikes, while you are able to throw off some short punches and some sharp elbows as they attempt to pressure back into the frame. And that movement can open up submission opportunities, the first of which we'll look at here being the armbar on the far side. After securing the position, the opponent's free arm may be on the inside of your bicep, and if they attempt to square you back up, this opens up the opportunity for an armbar on that far side free arm. Back at EBI 1, as Bill Cooper wrestled up into a body lock on Jake Swinney, it allowed him to set up the Williams guard position and then transition into that far side armbar as Bill stacked back into him. And of course, if the opponent pulls that free arm out to defend the armbar, they're opening themselves up to the other closed guard attacks like the triangle choke. The triangle choke can be set up when the opponent's free arm is on the outside of your leg, or it can be forced into that position as Shawn Williams recommends shaking it through to get the shin on the bicep. We can see Marcin Held use it again here, where after Imanari rolling into his opponent, he goes to the Williams guard before transitioning into the triangle choke. Now instead of locking up the frame on the Williams guard, he only gripped the shoulder, which gave him a free hand to wrist fight and push the arm through of the opponent to set up the triangle choke, which gets him the tap. Which we can also see Dean Lister do here in his bout against Alessio Sakara in the UFC, where he uses the same setup by gripping onto the shoulder from the Williams guard to secure the triangle choke victory. And if the opponent circles away from these attacks or to avoid the frame, it can open up the Omoplata submission or sweep. One such use of it here is by Dominika Obelanite against Marcelo Garcia in training, where she opts to grip the collar before bringing the other leg over and finishing with a sweep and submission. And here we see Victor Estima use it at ADCC as he transitions into the Williams guard and uses the frame to lift his opponent up, forcing them to stand and scoring him the sweep. And here Braulio Estima uses the Williams guard against Jacare at ADCC, moving into an Omoplata, forcing Jacare to stand up and giving Braulio the transition into the legs. we can begin to see how the omoplata can be set up reactively off the Williams guard as the opponent turns away from the other attacks or from the pressure of the frame. But it can be also set up proactively by pulling the leg over the head of the opponent, which can even lead to a gogoplata if they continue to stack back in. And here it is chained together by Nicholas Backstrom as he goes from Williams guard to the proactive entry of pulling the leg over the head to begin attacking the gogoplata before the opponent stands up and turns away, transitioning into an omoplata before securing a sweep and finishing on top. But standing up to spin around the guard is the counter that caused Eddie Bravo to remove it from the 10th Planet system. It's one he calls the Pinwheel pass. To deal with this, Shawn Williams offers two solutions. The first being a counter where you transition into a deep single leg as your opponent steps around your guard. This can be seen as an upgrade in position as long as you have a strong single leg game. The other counter is the seesaw sweep, whereas the opponent looks to step over you, you use the near arm as a lever to help use their momentum to sweep them and get you on top. But of course, as no guard is perfect, the Williams guard will have its own issues, similar to the rubber guard where it can limit your own hip mobility by attaching yourself to the opponent, and it's still being susceptible to good posture and a good stack from the opponent. And while not a total replacement for closed guard, it can be a fun and interesting one to play and transition into other positions from. One transition I've been playing with recently is from Williams guard to octopus guard and reverse Z guard. If you'd like to see a study on the octopus guard, then check out my previous video where we take a deep dive into the guard made famous by Eduardo Teles. And if you'd like the video, please hit thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. And a big shout out to GambleDub, whose original study on this topic got me into making breakdowns in the first place. You can find a link to that in the description.